It's a big day in the nation's capital and across the country, too, as we're hours away from the swearing in of the 46th president of the United States.
Yeah, you see here our political correspondent Joe St. George standing by, joining us now from Washington, D.C. Joe, good morning. You are there in the middle of it all. Can you describe to us what you're seeing out there right now this morning?
Well, you know, it's beginning, right? It feels this hour it's beginning. President Donald Trump, over the course of the next 45 minutes or so, departing the White House, having a final send-off from Andrews Air Force Base. Many of his supporters will be joining him there and not attending the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden. Again, the first president in 150 years to not welcome in the incoming president with a breakfast at the White House, or at least go to the platform itself on the west steps of the United States Capitol and say that the new transition, the new administration is taking over. So look, I mean, this is going to be an inauguration. If you're an inauguration enthusiast waking up in Arizona this morning, you know, this one's different. There's no crowds because of the pandemic. There's no outgoing president because of the division in this country. There is a lot that is facing the incoming president. Will certainly be a lot on his plate come noon Eastern time when he takes over.
Well, so Joe, going back to kind of what you mentioned here, obviously security is the big story, but also those COVID-19 safety protocols in place. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the differences we can expect to maybe see because of those restrictions.
Yeah, you know, you're not going to see the massive crowds surrounding the inaugural stage that perhaps you're used to seeing. Those photographs with the president taking the oath of office and all the other people huddled behind them. That's just not going to be the case because of the pandemic. A number of lawmakers, as has been mentioned, are skipping the inaugural ceremony altogether. Not just Republicans, but some Democrats are saying, you know, the pandemic, it's just not worth the risk to stand outside in 30-degree weather on the west steps of the U.S. Capitol and do this inauguration. So it's different. It feels different. The lack of crowds, you certainly lose a bit of energy that usually surrounds the pomp and circumstance of this day. I've been to a few of these inaugurations, and I can tell you, overlooking this broadcast location, it's quite dead still with several hours before the ceremony, where in normal years there'd be thousands of people trying to find that perfect spot to see the speech, to hear the performers. It's different. It feels different. I guess appreciate it, right? Because we probably won't see this 4 years from now.
All right, Joe, and we're hearing right now that President Trump is in Marine One, heading to Joint Base Andrews while he's holding that farewell send-off. So tell us a little bit about the difference here in transition of power with the Trump administration. We're taking a look right now at Marine One outside of the White House right now. So talk to us about, you know, this impact from supporters on both sides of the aisle that this is going to have.
Yeah, as Marine One departs for one final journey to Joint Base Andrews, it's a short helicopter ride over the National Mall, over the city of Washington, crossing the river to the Air Force Base. He'll have a military send-off there before taking one final ride down on Air Force One to Florida. But, you know, to some degree, if this was a governor or a senator even becoming president, this turbulent transition would certainly be impactful. But because President-elect Biden was vice president for 8 years, he's familiar with the oath, familiar with the duties of the presidency. He knows where the bathrooms are in the West Wing, as we have said. He knows what the job entails, and that has perhaps better prepared him for this very raucous transition. But as President Trump leaves Washington, very much uncertainty with his political future. Will he run again? Won't he run again? He issued over 140 pardons and clemencies overnight. A lot of questions surrounding what is next for President Trump. One thing we do know, an impeachment trial will be taking place in the United States Senate in short order.
Joe St. George, thank you so much. As always, we do appreciate it. We're seeing, here we go, President Trump leaving the White House for the last time in Marine One. Like Joe said, he's going to make that quick helicopter ride over to Air Force One, right over the Capitol Mall. Again, folks, we are seeing President Trump leaving the White House for the last time. He does say that he's proud of all that he's accomplished during his presidency. If you didn't see it, he released a video farewell message on his last full day as president. We're going to hear that in just a moment, but first we'll just watch this for 1 second.
To serve as your president has been an honor beyond description. Thank you for this extraordinary privilege, and that's what it is, a great privilege and a great honor. We must never forget that while Americans will always have our disagreements, we are a nation of incredible, decent, faithful, and peace-loving citizens who all want our country to thrive and flourish and be very, very successful and good.
Again, that was President Trump's farewell message that he released yesterday. He says some of his accomplishments included not starting any new foreign wars, adopting a tough stance on China, and growing the economy. He extended best wishes to the incoming administration.
Yeah, and again, this is a pretty short ride over to Joint Base Andrews, so we'll see the helicopter touchdown here at any moment. And from there, President Trump's expected to fly to his office in Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, and that's where he'll spend his final minutes in office ahead of Joe Biden's swearing in. So right now you're taking that live look at the Capitol. We're just hours away from that swearing in ceremony. That's going to be 9:30 Tucson time. All right. But the future vice president will see the current vice president off and his final day and her first day on the job. So a source says Vice President-elect Kamala Harris will escort outgoing Vice President Mike Pence to his motorcade after the inauguration. Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, and Second Lady Karen Pence will also be part of this, and the walk does keep up with past protocol here with the Vice President and soon-to-be Vice President Kamala Harris. So again, here's the information on your screen. The inauguration will air right here on KGUN 9, plus all of our streaming platforms at 9:30 this morning. That's when it all begins. Make sure to stay with us as well throughout the day. Many events happening, and we also have a complete guide on what's happening and when on KGUN9.com.